Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 615 on Tuesday, the 21st of January, 2025. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week we'll be looking at one company playing managerial musical chairs again. In new car news, we wonder what's been added to the Galois at one company. And in points of interest, we enjoy a cabin. But first, we have a touch of follow-up, and I will start with the news that BT has decided to kill the pilot scheme of converting their green signal boxes into EV chargers or enabling EV chargers to feed from them down residential roads after one.
Now, I was going to say, how many did they say they could convert? The answer to which was 90,000.
Yes, that was the hope all those months ago.
And the reality was one. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, that's astonishing. Quite frankly, it's not in this Autocar article, but I've seen it elsewhere that BT are complaining that the government have not backed them with money or something on this project. I don't understand why it's the government's fault, but they've decided that what they're going to do, and I'm going to quote from the BT spokesperson, "By adopting a pilot process, we've been able to test and explore a great deal about the challenges that many on-street EV drivers are facing with charging, and where BT Group can add most value to the UK EV ecosystem. What they're going to try and work on is improving Wi-Fi connectivity. Apparently, I
generally don't find Wi-Fi connectivity to be wonderfully important in my car, but maybe it's more important in an EV. I'm not convinced by my previous statement.
No, but it's the mobile signal, and this country's cut the 3G. Genius, as I've moaned about before. It's really disappointing, actually, because I think this could have been a very helpful addition to what is already going on.
The big benefit there was, of course, that it was all already connected to the grid.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big deal. That was the big draw here,
Yep.
Was that it was already connected to the grid. There was an electricity supply to the corner of the street. It was simple from there on in.
Yep.
That seems to have hit the scrappers, really.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in American government department activities, and goodness me, there have been a lot of them since New Year up until about 2 days ago. But the Federal Trade Commission announced that it was going to sue John Deere over its repair monopoly. For those of you who've been following for a while or following anything around right to repair, then John Deere is always an example of how you shouldn't do it, given its very, very tight contracts on the equipment that it, I was going to say sells. It sells, but it doesn't really let go of.
It's more loans.
Yeah, it has always restricted the ability of farmers themselves and any independent technicians to repair John Deere equipment, including tractors, combines, and such like. And the Federal Trade Commission has been complaining about this for a long time. And they finally feel that they are in a position to begin legal action, so they have done.
Yeah, I think it's Illinois and Minnesota are joining them. A lot of the problem here is the fact that when a John Deere vehicle or equipment breaks down or has an issue, as you said, they have to wait for a John Deere approved technician to arrive. And that can mean days or weeks without using the equipment, which I don't know if anybody's aware is a bit tricky if you're a farmer.
Yeah. Also, one of the other things about this kind of stuff in the US, and this is, of course, a US story, is that all these rules vary from state to state. And while some states have laws saying that you have a right to repair, actually getting the companies to acknowledge that is a different challenge entirely. Hence, this is being done at a federal level.
Anyone who's followed us for a while will know we've shared at least 2 videos explaining how bad the situation is if you happen to be a farmer or someone who wants to use their equipment. I've noticed there's more and more mutterings happening in the EU and the UK about right to repair, particularly as connected vehicles and the likes and the software-defined vehiel is said more and more. Oh, God, don't get me started. I'm already in a bad mood. I don't need to be worse.
He's in a terrible mood. But if anybody thinks that this kind of stuff doesn't apply to you, then it will all apply to you if you like, for example, McFlurries, because the makers of the McFlurry machine are the other example that's held up as particularly bad. bad faith practice in this area.
Absolutely. I'm going to take us now to new news and some good news, thankfully. There is going to be a new plant built in Sunderland next to the Nissan facility, which is thanks to JATCO, which is the Japan Automatic Transmission Company, which is majority owned by Nissan, so no surprise where it's been located. But they will be building the powertrains for the next generation electric vehicles with the likes of the Leaf, the Cash Cow, and the Duke.
As well as stuff for loads of other brands as well.
Yeah. The UK government has invested $50 million to help this project get going, and the expectation is that 183 jobs will be created as a result of it. This is good news.
Is that probably better than here's a term we haven't heard for a while, the gigafactory that was going to be built up there? Probably is actually more jobs and stuff.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Don't know. It has gone very quiet on the whole battery factories in the UK, hasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, it was only just when I was thinking about it there, I suddenly realised how quiet it had gone on that.
Yeah.
Next up, Stellantis. Moving on from Nissan and its joys with management. Stellantis has revamped its UK leadership team, says this AM Online article. They'll be linked in the show notes. AM Online has started this with the image at the top, the stars of Stellantis image. I have no idea why, but essentially there are new roles for Nicola Dobson, Giuseppe Carver, Nick Richards, and Tom Ray. They all report to Yuri Gdrus, the new group managing Stellantis' new group managing director for the UK. Nicola Dobson will become managing director of Peugeot. She was previously the pre-owned director for Stellantis UK. Giuseppe Carver becomes managing director of Fiat Professional, and Abarth. He joined Stellantis in 2018 and this will not come as a surprise given his name, been deeply embedded in the Fiat brand throughout his career. But he was UK marketing director for Fiat and Abarth previously. Damien Daly will now focus exclusively on Leapmotor, which is, of course, the Chinese brand that they're importing.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Richards steps into the role of pre-owned vehicles director, which was the job pre-owned by Dobson.
Yes. Tom Ray's going to be doing the business to business.
And obviously, Yuri Drews says lots of nice things about everybody going into these roles.
So, have we started a book on how long these people last before they either leave or there's more changes?
No, I'm not prepared to do that.
Okay. Right, well, I will take us back to America and back to the Federal Trade Commission, because they have taken action against General Motors and the OnStar connectivity service from General Motors, and said that they are going to be banned for the next 5 years from disclosing geolocation and driver behavior to consumer reporting agencies. Now, if we remember, we did talk about this, was probably 6 months ago, I think, I want to say, that what was happening is people were discovering that their insurance rate was changing. And when they dug into it further, they found out that the cars had been passing on information about their driving style, he says, trying not to swear.
Driving style in that case, by the way, meaning, of course, locations, times of day, and really very, very detailed information, because people had signed up to the OnStar Smart Driver feature. The thing is, they weren't all completely certain they had signed up to the Smart Driver feature, or that the depths and details of what the Smart Driver feature actually meant.
No, but this is really good that even in America, where they seem to really not care about consumers very much, they have said this is not good. And hopefully people are looking over in the UK and Europe about this, where we do already inherently have better protection. However, I don't think authorities are really investigating or looking into these things. Or because if they did, I'm sure they would stop the insurance black box stuff that talks about driver behaviour.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that they're being made to do here. It is very much in alignment with GDPR, as much of the punishment is comply to something closer to general data protection regulation.
Mm.
The thing is that this information, when it's passed on to these consumer reporting agencies in the US, it can be used to infer all sorts of stuff. So even your location near a hospital can push up your health insurance price, all that kind of thing. It's sickening, really. No pun was intended there, by the way.
Yes, that's true. The Commission has stated that the civil penalty of up to $51,744 per violation over the next 5 years sort of puts the 15 grand for a car that's outside the zero emission vehicle mandate look really like chicken feed in comparison. So hopefully
really
that makes them change their behavior, and hopefully they comply with that.
Fingers crossed. Speaking of compliance, next up in the companies doing naughty things list is HINO. So HINO is the truck brand part of Toyota. And they did sell in the UK for a while. I don't know that they still do, but there were HINO trucks sold here for a bit. But they're also sold in the US. Well, I say are sold, probably were sold in the US. It turns out that HINO were guilty of deceiving US regulators about the amount of emissions that its diesel engines produced. Obviously, this is happening to a company which isn't an American company and doesn't manufacture in America. As a result, they are being hit with a $1.6 billion fine. That's £1.3 billion as of 17th of January, according to this story on the BBC. And it's also banned from exporting its diesel engines to the US for 5 years. That $1.6 billion comes after selling 105,000 illegal engines between 2010 and 2022. So I'm going to let someone else with better math skills work out just how much that has cost per engine.
I wonder what the cost would be if, say, I don't know, GM had done this.
Yeah. Well, they can't do anything wrong, can they? By the way, on top of the 5-year diesel engine ban, HINO has also committed to a compliance and ethics plan during that period.
We're going to take us on to CANOO. And unfortunately, they have filed for bankruptcy and they have ceased operations immediately.
There's so many puns he's missing out on here. I mean, they are up a creek without a paddle for starters.
Well, they have been for quite some time. But now, yes, the CANOO has capsized and other... You make your own up. Go on, go for it.
Why not tell us in the comments below? Sorry.
Yes. Reach out via social media to tell us your best. CANOO, who created a wonderful-looking EV van or van body that could be used in multiple different ways, like a minibus as well as van vehicles. They have just not been able to produce the vehicles, not get the customers. I think they were much better at getting announcements out there and publicized than they were at actually doing the businessy side of things, which we've seen so many EV makers fall into that trap. Then that's forgetting ones. Well, yeah. No, I was about to say forgetting the ones that obviously had mad people in charge who decided to do insane things.
I think most of these have had mad people in charge. Let's be honest. I mean, Rivian is about the only one that doesn't seem to have overtly mad people in charge and actually seems able to deliver some stuff.
Yeah, they have $126 million worth in assets, and they owed creditors $164 million.
Is that all?
Which I doubt many will get much because of Chapter 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. I like the vehicle, but like I say, if you've not got a business model...
Yeah, with each of these, there's a different amount of, it's a shame it didn't make it, because they've pretty much all got something cool about them.
Yes.
With the exception of Lordstown. I never liked Lordstown. I always thought it was very weird. But there's always some fundamental cool thing about each of these vehicles, and you just think, well, if they had all managed to succeed somehow, then that would be a very cool ecosystem to have out there, and zipping around on the roads. But
it would have driven legacy makers.
Oh, big time.
And they would have had to, particularly some of them, the design aesthetics, some of them it was the actual technology they were using and the way they'd done things. But it's not easy to make a car. Making an electric car is even harder.
It seems so.
Do you want to take us to Silverstone?
Oh gosh, yes. We're not finished with the colour with the
fantasy companies.
This is a fantasy. Yes, this is a fantasy EV company that has been rescued from the ashes, and this one is Charge Cars. Now, I don't know if you remember Charge Cars, but they were the ones that basically had a 1967 Mustang, a Ford Mustang body. Although, of course, it was not a Ford or a Mustang.
They were given approval.
67.
They were
given approval.
Yeah, they got approval off Ford to use the body style and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I would kind of hope so, to be honest. And then it was going to be electric. And they were going to charge £350,000 for each one. They delivered exactly 0.
I feel bad then for the way I had to go at BT for installing one pilot.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. You see, the BT one was such a tiny percentage of what they had promised.
Yes. But then again, 0 out of all the cars that Charge Cars said they were going to deliver, is quite low.
It is quite low, yeah. Yeah, they've been saved by a consortium of unnamed private investors, so that doesn't sound dodgy at all.
No. Are they called Phoenix or something?
I don't know. 67, I'm moving on. 67 EV, ready for deliveries, invest in a new state-of-the-art headquarters at Silverstone.
That always makes me worried.
Supposedly they had a sizable order book whenever they went bust, but they blame significant challenges. One of those challenges might have been that one of the founders, Vadim Shagaliyev, was a Russian entrepreneur, and that it all existed under the umbrella of the Kinetic Group, which was part founded by the Arrival CEO, Denis Sverdlov, who's also Russian. So I think the Russianness, the Arrivalness, and all of that stuff probably contributed to a number of those challenges.
Yeah, well, also, talking of Arrival CEO, apparently the tech they were going to use is the same batteries, motors, and control systems that Arrival were going to use. Funnily enough, that's going to make it tricky to build a car.
Have you been watching any of the stuff on YouTube by that chap? Ridiculous name. His channel's called Hazelnuts.
Not knowingly.
He bought a couple of the Arrival prototype vans.
Oh, I think you've mentioned
and a whole bunch of the Arrival batteries.
Right.
And no two are the same. Goodness knows exactly which parts of Arrival stuff that they were actually going to use.
Again,
because the two prototypes are barely interchangeable between them.
This is why these startups need to employ grown-up business and engineer people. It's just no. Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
No. Keep him happy, everyone. Keep him happy. Anyway, they may well be back. We shall see. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. My faith in how many cars they're actually going to build is absolutely at the same level as how many cars they produced before they went bankrupt.
No, I reckon there will be one built. We're going to put money. Do we want to open that? You see, I'm prepared to open a book on that. They will build one.
No, because all the money's going to go into this state-of-the-art facility in Silverstone.
But they'll need something to sit in the facility, though, and look nice.
They've got to go and find all the batteries, all the powertrains, all the control systems from someone.
10 a penny. CANOO have some going spare, but then they bought all the stuff from Arrival. But nobody then knows if they ever used it. So
probably have they paid the people who shipped it?
Oh, goodness knows.
Anyway, I think that takes us kicking and screaming to the end of the first part.
It is, which means it's guilt minute, a quick break in the show when we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. You feel the Motoring Podcast worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merch in our spring store, which I really need to do something about revising. Now I have a little bit more time on my hands. From stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, we completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show, whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all that, some of you do, so thank you very much. The last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does. You're very kind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, new car news, and we're doing a little bit of catch-up from the Brussels Motor Show. We're going to start with the KGM Actyon, which is their new large SUV. KGM used to be SsangYong, for anyone who wasn't aware. So they're the Korean company. And unfortunately, the pictures that we've got from the Brussels Motor Show depict a car in white. And if we listened to the show last week, you will note that how Alan explained how poor white is as a colour choice for any car, because it can hide or fudge the perhaps finer details of a design.
Well, in this case might be a blessing, and the fact that it's under multicoloured lights and the pictures on the Autocar website don't necessarily help with the shadows, so it does have a certain amount of self-camouflage. But as I say, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
So this is quite a chunky looking SUV, although it's gone heavy on the very slimline lights, although I think the headlights are in the vertical position, a bit like, is it the old Santa Fe? The previous generation Santa Fe.
I mean,
it's
a generic mashup of many well-known SUVs, and it's only a refinement of the existing Torres SUV as well, where things like the grille has suddenly become a light bar and that kind of stuff.
Yes, and the back end looks like they took a picture of a Range Rover Sport and went, "We like that. Let's incorporate many bits of that." I mean, it's not ugly, but it's not attractive either. It's like so many of the SUVs today. They're all almost blending into one with things. So.
Yeah. Now we sound like really old people when we say stuff like that.
No, but it's difficult to get excited by any of them.
It is.
This is going to go up against the Skoda Kodiaq and the Honda CR-V. Prices are expected to start from around $31,995, but that will be cheaper than the Kodiaq and the CR-V.
But let's put that into perspective. It's going to be offered initially with a turbocharged 1.5-litre four-cylinder petrol engine, putting out a whopping 161 horsepower and 207 pound-foot of torque.
Yeah.
I find this incredibly difficult to get in the slightest bit interested about, even the promised more powerful 204 brake horsepower.
Electric.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, buy one. But
I mean, if you need something large and cost is an issue and you have to go new, then possibly that's the in.
And you're blind.
Okay. Okay, well then, do you want to take us to Toyota?
It's taking us to the not a lot better looking Toyota Urban Cruiser. Okay, I confess this is not exactly a beauty either. It is unlikely to land in the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art.
I've just realised
anytime soon.
The front.
What?
It's like they've nicked the Honda, the bottom of the bonnet and the headlights, and the way that all curves round.
No. It's meant to be like the new Prius. You know, the really good-looking new Prius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's failed there.
Well, yes, it has, hasn't it? So, yes, it's another unexciting electric SUV, but at least it's not Chinese. I mean, it's built in India, so it can't possibly be Chinese. It's strange crossover. It's going to be about £30,000. It is very close to the Suzuki e-Vitara, built in the same factory. Come with either a 49 kilowatt hour or 61 kilowatt hour battery. The former being offered with 142 brake horsepower front wheel drive e-motor, while the latter can be had with either, I don't know why it's called an e-motor, can be had with either 172 brake horsepower and front wheel drive or 182 brake horsepower and all wheel drive. Yes, it comes with 10-inch screens inside and all the safety stuff you could wish for, with 360 degree cameras, JBL audio kit, sunroof, etc., etc., etc. I don't know if you. I would still rather have a Yaris Cross personally.
Well, it's going up against the Volvo EX30, which has had real problems since launch, but also the Kia EV3. You're going to have to do a bit better than that if you're going to beat the Kia EV3, I feel.
I think this is Toyota just needing some more EVs in the pure EVs in the lineup.
Yeah, I think that's 100% what it is.
But I'd still have the Yaris Cross or the or even the what's the next one up? CHR.
Or go and get the Lexus, whatever the Lexus thing.
The Lexus Yaris Cross is that's
can't
what
remember
I'd
what that one's called.
It's something X.
Yeah. Something X. But it's not the RX because that's the big one.
It's not the UX.
The N then. No, it is the U.
No, the N is between the R and the U.
It's the U then, isn't it? That's the smallest one.
No.
Or is it the LBX?
We're going to have to go. It might be. It's a little baby Lexus. That's what LB stands for.
Okay, I'm going to move us on before
I
we
should
get
know.
a
I should
really
know this. I'm
very
sorry.
angry phone call when this gets published from.
It's less angry than it would have been with previous Toyota PR people, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm going to take us to BYD and their Atto 2. And you've guessed it, yet another SUV. Well done. And this will come with a 194-mile range, actually. Sorry about that. And it is going to rival the likes of the Vauxhall Frontera and the Renault 4. The price is expected to be in the mid-20,000s, which will again put it slap bang up against the Frontera and the 4. There's a 400-litre boot. There's a variety of motors. And, well, BYD are...
It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit...
It's a bit generic, but it's better looking than the last two we've just talked about.
Yeah, the bar's not very high. I'm getting elements of... What was the Citroen crossover? The C4 Cross or something like that? That rear...
Don't know, they're all launched when I was in the US, so I have no idea.
The rear pillar and things. It's
got the floating pillar.
It's fine.
It's got a Stellantis floating pillar.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Again,
there's I think it's an Atto 3 further up the street here, and it's perfectly reasonable looking vehicle sitting on the driveway. And this looks like it the same but smaller, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. We've struggled to get excited at all of any of the new car news.
The thing is that there's just not a lot that seem particularly exciting being launched right at the minute. It's quite a quiet time of the year because, I don't know, even for trips to Barcelona, it's a bit on the chilly side.
But equally, so much of it is, here's which is good news, more affordable priced EV or similar. However, they're all an SUV, which is difficult to get excited about. They're all designed to look inoffensive as possible, which means they all look bland. We've given up being excited about how quickly something can get to 62 miles an hour. Just grow up. I mean, for God's sake, it's an electric vehicle. Of course it does. It doesn't matter what the power output is. So it's just, we are struggling at the moment. There's very few vehicles that are being put out new that you go, ooh, that's interesting and exciting.
Yes.
But anyway, what we have included, Alan.
This is an incredible story.
It's astonishing.
DS design director Thierry Métraz at the Brussels Motor Show, where they were showing off their new DS number 8. I think they're trying to copy Chanel, funnily enough, with their number 5. I don't know. It must have been quite a good lunch.
Well, yes, he's talked about the future plans and hopes for the brand.
Or it was either a very good lunch or somewhere in car designer land, there is a competition to go on to see who can most out-Jaguar. Because the interview, and it's linked in the show notes as a short short interview, many fine snippets from it. And what he's saying here is that DS is premium, and their
That's
mission
the
is to
start.
be.
That's the start, and it doesn't get better from there.
Their mission is to be more than premium. I quote here: "We would like to try to touch the luxury feeling," which sounds like something you get in trouble with HR for.
Well, yes.
But he says that really that they should be, they want to be a competitor to Rolls-Royce and Bentley. Cue a lot of
Ding.
giggling from Derby
Ding.
and a lot of chuckling from Goodwood. And that really that's what they want to be. It's absolutely not German at all, because that's the important thing. And it's not Bentley. But the inspiration is more Bentley or Rolls-Royce than Audi or Volkswagen. And really, that's where the brand, it seems to be that's really where the brand should be. It's far more Rolls-Royce and Bentley, which is one way of discussing why they probably sell about the same number of cars as Rolls-Royce or Bentley.
The fact they think they're up against Audi, Mercedes, and BMW is astonishing. I mean, it's one thing to have aims. And of course, a brand has to have a target market. But wow!
And despite it, I quite like DS.
I like the idea of it. I like the fact that they're quirky. I love the fact that they do things a bit different.
That's where I was going to go.
And I applaud and want more of that. I mean, we've just spent 5 minutes moaning about how everything looks the same and is an SUV, for crying out loud.
Yes.
So we do not decry. It's just the reality of the execution. And that's not the design, that is the interiors, the drivability, and all that stuff.
It's how the heck do they get there? That's the bit that amazes me about this. I mean, they are caught within Stellantis, so there's a limited amount of how different they can be.
They're seen as an offshoot of Citroën.
Yeah.
Which hampers even further, because as you say, so they're constrained by what parts they can use, because they've all got to share all that sort of stuff for the scales. But then many people consider them, they're just a bit of Citroën, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which doesn't help them.
I mean, I'd love it to be the case. I would genuinely love it to be the case.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how it's possible.
No.
It would be a little bit like...
I don't know, Jaguar managing it.
Well, I don't know. I'm dubious on that one. But it would be like Jaguar trying to do the same thing while still selling the X-Type.
Okay.
That's the kicker. That's the kicker on this. I mean, obviously, good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're going to go and rename their vehicles, by the way. The DS7 is going to be renamed the number 7. The DS4 is going to be renamed the number 4.
Okay.
Numéro 7, numéro 4.
Fine.
And the numéro 8.
Excellent. Shall we move on to points of interest?
Anyway, points of interest, because otherwise we'll debate the same thing by using the same words many, many times.
Yes, and we have another lunchtime watch for you. Ed March has released the 3rd episode of Will the Mini Jeep Make It to Area 51? Last time when we recommended, he was up mountains with his modified Mini Jeep in a bit of snow.
Come on. This one, he travels 40 miles maximum?
Yes, over 5 days.
It's a little bit tricky and it's a little bit snowy, but it is, as always, with anything shot in that part of the USA, it is absolutely stunning.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And what you have to watch it to see what he actually achieves, because, only 40 miles. However, there are a few little things which make that quite the remarkable trip. Do go and watch it, because he's great fun to watch. And I'm in awe of his insanity.
Oh, yeah. Insanity work.
Insanity. And also how he is a lucky so-and-so with the people he bumps into. But I don't want to say any more, because it'll be spoilers. But it's another great episode.
It's half an hour, and it's a good watch. Yep. It's a good and enjoyable watch. List of the week this week. It's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. It's come to the point where many manufacturers have decided that they should fit electric door handles. And they can have challenges, things break, power fails, and they're not always as intuitive as one may wish them to be. What there is here is a list of all of the different vehicles for sale in the US, which covers ones in Europe. I think it covers all the ones in Europe as well. In here, things like the Audi e-tron, BMW iX, Fiat 500e, Ford Mustang Mach-E, Lexus NX and RX. I think that covers all of them. Fisker Ocean, if you're lucky.
Oh, good God. Yeah, just...
I know, well, yes, if you're... Did I say lucky? Brave. It covers all of those and how to manually open the electric doors from inside. So if you are stuck in one of these in the crash, this might be a useful article to have bookmarked on your phone. And now, not only that, it covers the not just the front doors, but also the back doors, and how you, in many cases, have to pretty much disassemble the back door to get to the emergency release handle. So that's good.
It's insane that we're in such a situation where this sort of article has to be written to highlight first of all, stupidity of manufacturers for going for electronic door handles, because Jesus Christ, grow up, my word, you lot. And secondly, that anyone has thought that this is suitable in any way in a safety critical element of the vehicle.
I would recommend making, if you have any of these cars, stuff in the back, I'd make sure that you have one of those orange safety hammers with a little bit in the pointy end so you can smash the window. It's a good time to have one of those in your car.
Yeah, but it talks about that as well in this. So just be careful, because not all glass is equal.
Well, that also is true, especially if it has a tin film on it. Then it is tougher to break and also to then get out. But this list is from Consumer Reports in the US, so it is a good, trustworthy source as well.
Can I pick my favourite? By favourite, I mean the one I hate the most.
Yes.
And there's
How did I guess that?
Stiff competition here. But I think for me, the one that epitomizes the lunacy of this all is the Tesla Model X. That's the one with the Falcon doors.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you are in the back and the electronic doors do not work, you must first remove a speaker grill before pulling on a release cable and then manually pushing the doors up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now if you go through this list, you will see for the 3, the Y, the X, and the S, there are different ways you have to, different actions to get out. And that's I just cannot understand that.
I would feel much happier if there was consistency here.
But that would involve having an adult involved in the company, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, to try and end on something a bit more light-hearted, although it is a serious issue, we are going to take you to a BBC News article for the And Finally, with the headline, "Fed up villagers turn potholes into attraction." The village near Wrexham, called Pontfadog, they have created Pothole Land. It's 2 kilometres of award-winning potholes with with very little actual road to spoil your fun.
It's the poles with the sign across the top over the road that really got me. I mean, there is barely any road left. It is shamefully bad.
It is disgusting.
There seems to be no drainage or anything or runoff from the road, and it needs fully rebuilt, really. But kudos to them. Kudos to them. Yeah, brought to you by Wrexham Council and stuff on the great big signs. They've really gone all in on this.
Yeah.
But you couldn't take a normal car up most of this road. It is genuinely that bad.
If you're on a bicycle, you're at risk of serious harm.
Oh yeah, totally. He was also saying that people just won't go up the road, refuse to go up the road to the people who live up there, and that also includes the binmen.
But it's okay, Alan. The government has said AI will fix potholes for us now.
Will it? That's okay. It's going to fix
it won't,
absolutely everything.
You know what? Magic beans will not fix our problems.
What if we replaced the politicians with magic beans? Do you think that would help?
Well, at least we'd get something out of it.
Well, yeah, true.
Some runner beans at the end of the
yes,
season.
Some beans, yeah.
Anyway, I think before we get too bad about all of this, I think we have reached the end of the show.
Is there really nothing to lighten us?
No.
Lighten it up a bit.
No, there isn't. That was the best I could find.
Next week, can we have something about, congestion charge zones or something to just brighten it up and give us something to laugh at? Oh,
sorry, everyone.
Me.
We can only bring you the news that is out there. I'm sorry.
And let's face it, we're skipping the worst of it.
Yes,
so,
we are.
Very much so. It's a good week to not be in America anymore. So that was decided many, many months before the election. So there we go. That does very much bring us to the end. So don't forget, folks, that between now and next week, you can give us any feedback. Share your thoughts with the show at motoringpodcast.com, on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon. Please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Semaphore? Smoke signals?
Probably, yes. I don't really want to look at the internet at the moment for many, many reasons. But yes, if you try Blue Sky and search for Crap Windscreen, I have an account there. Equally on LinkedIn, if you search under my actual name, you will find I have an account there. Feel free to follow along or reach out and try and connect. And I might do so when I have summed up the energy and the emotional fortitude to go back on these places. How about you, Alan? You're made of stronger stuff than me, so how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, right at the minute I'm busier, so I'm not sitting there staring at Blue Sky all the time. Where I am at AJP Bradley, that's BRADLEY. So we'll be back very soon. But until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring, folks. Ooh, I did a folk in. Is that the first time in 615 shows I've done that?
I think so.